Well, good morning and welcome to the Coffee Break Podcast, where we share business practices, ideas, and strategies while we enjoy our morning coffee break. I'm Chad Lingefelt from Loc-Doc Security. Today, we have another guest with us today, all the way from Connecticut. We'll be talking with Liz Falcigno. She is a food photographer and blogger, and we're going to have a pretty interesting conversation with her coming up right after this.
We got so much to say. We got a podcast to make. We're sipping on lattes, and it's time for a coffee break. It's time for a coffee break. Oh, yeah.
All right, welcome back today. Hey, thank you very much for being with us, Liz.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here. I'm excited to chat with you.
So you are a food photographer and blogger. You have a blog called The Clean Eating Couple. It's thecleaneatingcouple.com. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
All right. So we're going to be talking a little bit about how you kind of got started with that and kind of what that's about and why that's important to you here in just a little while. But as part of our podcast here, rather than just asking somebody, hey, introduce us to you or tell us a little bit about yourself, we like to do some rapid fire questions, 5 random questions just to kind of get to know you a little better. So
Okay.
we'll jump into that now, okay?
All right, go for it.
All right, number 1, what show on Netflix do you binge watch embarrassingly fast?
Probably The Office. I've watched it way too many times to even count.
But that's very fair. Like that is
It's like a perpetual binge watching.
I went back a couple of years ago and I had never watched Seinfeld. And when they released it on Hulu, I was like, oh, okay. So I watched the entire season or series, and it was like, I have literally wasted too much time in my life. All right, number 2, what is your real favorite book? 1, and 2, what is the book that you pretend that is your favorite book to sound smart?
My real favorite book is probably The Help. But the book that I usually say to sound smart is anything by Gary Vaynerchuk. I love Crush It, Crushing It. All of his books are amazing.
Those are awesome. Awesome. Okay.
Yeah.
Number 3, what is the grossest or nastiest food that you've ever had to eat to be polite?
Oh, God. Well, I'm Italian, and obviously, I like food and I like to cook, and I grew up around cooks. But I can remember as a kid being at friends' houses and wanting to be really polite, but their parents were serving me like Chef Boyardee, and I was just like, oh, this is so gross and such a sin.
That's fair. That's fair. All right. Number 4, what celebrity would you pick to exchange lives with?
Oh. That's a tough one. I'm gonna have to revert back to Gary Vee. I find him to be so interesting, and I'm a huge fan of everything he does. So I would love to see kind of what a day in the life is for him.
All right, that's fair. And then the last one, what is a random weird fact that you happen to know?
Oh God. I don't know a lot of random weird facts. I'm like the worst person to have on your trivia team because anytime someone tells me something like that, I'm like, oh, I had no idea.
There you go. So you're always learning, always learning.
Yeah, I'm gonna pass on that one and say that I likely don't know a lot of the random facts that most people do.
My random fact is I'm always surprised by whatever people say.
Exactly.
All right. Thank you very much for participating in our rapid fire questions. It's always fun to kind of get to know people on a different level that way. So you have been a food blogger now for a while, but I guess, and I would like you to clarify this for us. You got into this more so from your photography standpoint. One of the things that I noticed on your blog and your website as I was scrolling through, I was like, these pictures are amazing. Like the entire site just looks fabulous. If you got to go check it out to understand it. And then I started looking at your bio, and I was like, oh, she's a photographer by trade, a food photographer. So that's makes a whole lot of sense. So tell us a little bit how you got into that.
So actually, the blog came first, and then I kind of became a food photographer. So I've always had the interest in cooking, but I didn't necessarily have the photography skill. So I taught myself that, and then I kind of flipped it. So now I do, it's more of a 50-50 split at this point, where I do about 50% of my business comes from my photography, 50% of it is still the blog. But I started the blog really just as a way to share the healthy food that I was making. I had kind of made a lifestyle shift and was starting to eat better and work out. And a lot of my friends and family were asking me questions about that. So I started the blog as a way to communicate with them. But then I kind of quickly realized that influencer marketing and blogging as a whole was kind of growing rapidly, and that there was a business opportunity there. So I went all in, and that's when I decided to hone in, especially on my food photography as a craft, and kind of take it to the next level.
Well, that was part of, looking at your content. That was one of the questions that I kind of wanted to dive into, is how you see that, and maybe this is a leading question, I don't know, but how you see at the photography standpoint, because I mean your website's very impressive. When you go on it, it's very bright, it's vibrant, it kind of draws you in with the photography. Even if you're not into the recipe side of it or the food side of it, I mean, just the content looks amazing. So I guess my question was going to be, how do you divvy that up from like kind of where do you weigh the displaying of the content versus the actual content?
Yeah. So I mean, I think that both are very important, especially when it comes to food. You do totally eat with your eyes in a lot of cases. So I think that photography is really, really important with food, where it might not be as important with other kind of realms of content. But at the same time, the actual content itself is really important when it comes to food blogging, because I want anyone to be able to come to my site, whether they are a seasoned chef or someone that has never picked up a spatula in their life, and be able to make any of my recipes. So in that way, I provide helpful tips. I provide substitutions. I answer questions that people might have about the recipe. So it kind of is important on both ends of the spectrum.
So maybe the look of the site, the look of the content draws them in, but the value of the content keeps them coming back.
Exactly. That's kind of what I'm going for.
Well, I can see that would work very well. So one of the things that you mentioned obviously early on was Gary Vee. How much of the Gary Vee philosophy did you implement, and did you implement that before you started this, or is it something you came upon after you started the blogging process?
Well, I think that Gary Vee talks a lot about being scrappy and kind of working with what you have, and grinding like from all hours, which I totally implemented that philosophy. I mean, when I started my site and when I was out of college, I was working a full-time 40-hour plus work week. And then I was working, from the time I got home from work until midnight, or I would get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and work before I went to work. So I definitely implemented that philosophy, and I implemented the like done is better than perfect sort of mentality. But now that I'm a little bit more established and I have a little bit more leeway, it's not that I'm working less hard. I'm just focusing on making all that work that I did before better. So a lot of the recipes that you're seeing on my site today are actually recipes that have been on there for a long time, but I'm just going back and, like I said before, adding in those helpful questions people might have, helpful tidbits, that sort of thing, to make it a better piece of content.
So with that said, I kind of want to jump back, because I think I missed this question early on. What drove you into food blogging as a whole? Like, that's, I love to eat, but I would not go out and start a food blog to diet. Now I Instagram my food all the time, but what kind of drove you down that path? What's your passion for that, for food as a whole?
Yeah, so really it was just because I wanted to share the recipes, because people were asking questions about it. But then I've always loved to cook. I grew up, like I said earlier, in an Italian family. Cooking is huge. We love to eat. And I mean, I don't have any culinary training. My training is just from spending time in the kitchen with my grandparents and my mom, and learning from them. So it's something I've always loved as a kid. If you had asked me what I wanted to do, I probably would have said I want to own a bakery or own a restaurant. So it's always kind of been in the back of my mind. But it wasn't until I got out of college. I have a degree in marketing, and I worked in marketing and advertising for a couple of years before I just kind of said, I just don't want to do this. And I found myself loving the late nights and early mornings that I was spending working on my blog and sharing healthy food with people. So it's kind of the passion of showing people that healthy food can be delicious and really simple is what kind of drives me pretty much every day to keep doing what I'm doing.
From the clean eating side of it, right? Because that's obviously the name of the blog. Where did that kind of come from? Obviously passion for food is one thing. Passion for a healthy lifestyle is a whole separate thing. So how did that get started for you?
So when I went away to college, I never really had a bad diet. I wouldn't say I grew up eating junk food or anything like that. But when I went away to college, the food, no matter how healthy you try to be there, is just so loaded with processed crap in the dining hall. And I just found myself really not feeling great. So I kind of took it into my own hands and, wanted to make that shift. And when I realized how good I was feeling just from eating, making simple choices and eating better, I wanted to share that with everyone. And even to this day, I mean, that was 8 years ago. I just I made a New Year's resolution and I never really turned back. And I just want to share that with other people, that it doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't have to be expensive or confusing. Anyone really can live a healthy lifestyle and feel great with minimal effort, in my opinion. So I like sharing that with others.
And I would imagine being in that position and sharing that you're inspiring people on a regular basis. What's a story that you've received back? Somebody saying, "Hey, because you're putting this out here and sharing this, it's helped me in this way."
Yeah, I get messages all the time, and they make my day. I honestly, anytime I get a note like that, I screenshot it and I save it on my phone for when I'm having a bad day. But so, sometimes I have people message me and say, I'm a busy mom. It's hard to get dinner on the table. Thank you. I made this and my kids loved it and they never eat vegetables, or, I really need to lose this weight for my health and your recipes have been really helpful. So anytime anyone says anything like that, it's just so nice to know that you're helping someone.
As it relates to content and coming up with new recipes, where do you get these ideas from? And have you hit the wall at times where it's like, I don't know what else to write. I don't have anything else. I'm dried up. Where is that inspiration coming from?
I get inspiration from a lot of places. But I mean, most of the recipes on my site are inspired by things that I grew up eating. So meatballs or stuffed peppers or, just healthier takes on things that I really like. But then I also get inspired from going out to eat and maybe eating a really decadent, delicious pasta dish and thinking, how can I make this a little bit lighter and healthier for my audience? So I gather inspiration from everywhere.
Let me ask you this question, because this is always there's kind of two parts to this. But when you're working with something like you are, right, a blog, there's a lot of people that have started blogs over the years and then they've died off, right? So there's a half a dozen blogs sitting out there in the interwebs that nobody will ever see.
Yeah.
So there's a consistency basis on it, obviously, to get it. You started this in 2013, if I remember reading correctly?
Yes. Yeah.
So you're now coming into 6 years of this.
Yeah.
How long was that Gary V grind? How long was that persistent before you actually saw something materialize out of it? Because I think that's a hard part for people in any level. If it's a service business like we're in, if it's in any type of, social influencer, marketing, whatever, there's a point where you're like, am I wasting my time? Should I just give this up? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. And kind of what you were saying about those blogs that kind of die off. I think that those blogs, a lot of the times, are the people that don't have that Gary V mentality and don't want to, give up their weekend or give up their night off. And like he always says, you want to sit and watch Netflix, but you don't want to put the work in, which is fine. But I did not have that in my mind. Basically, once I had been in my jobs in marketing and realized, I don't want to do this. And I had made the decision that I wanted to make this up to a full-time income. It was probably about, I did the blog as a hobby, and then I realized the potential. And then at the same time, I realized I don't like what I'm doing at work. So it was kind of the culmination of everything. So I said, okay, I'm going to work this job. I'm going to work really hard there. I'm going to make my money and I'm going to save it. And while I'm doing that, I'm also going to work really hard on my blog. So for about a year and a half, I would say I went all in, like giving up weekends, giving up nights, getting up early. And then finally I just said, all right, I have this little nest egg saved and I think I'm ready to do this. The blog is growing and I'm going to give it a shot. And that's what I did. And after that year and a half, I didn't just say, okay, it's all smooth sailing. I'm not going to give up and I'm not going to give up and, just see what happens. I still work hard. I mean, I think I work more than a lot of people do. I'm sure you do too. Entrepreneurs, you never really stop when you own your own business, but it's always been a consistent hard grind. But over the past year, now that my blog is at a point where there are some passive, I hate that term, but passive streams of income, like my ads or my affiliate sales. So I don't have to be on every single day and, every single weekend spending my time doing photography, because I have the whole week to do it too, because it's my job now.
Sure. So was there anything at a specific time that kind of gave you a big breakthrough? Did you get some exposure from some avenue of other, some other collaboration that got you some exposure? Like or has it just been a consistent, how did you build your following, I guess would be a better way to ask the question.
So, yeah, I wish that there had been some big thing that just had to happen, but honestly, it was just consistent growth. Every month, my page views grew a little bit more. Every month, my Instagram following grew a little bit more. And because I was doing the things, that you want to do to make that happen, like engaging with people on Instagram and, working on SEO. So my content was getting ranked higher in Google, that kind of thing. Optimizing Pinterest, sharing on Facebook to bring in more page views. So I was doing all the things and consistently, it wasn't just a straight skyrocket, but it was a little bit, little by little, it kept growing and growing until it was to the point where it is now, where, it's not that it's self-sustaining, but if I needed to take off next week, I wouldn't be broke, which is nice.
No, and that's an interesting storyline, because a narrative, because a lot of times you talk to people and it's like, well, I've been doing this and there was no success for 10 years, and then all of a sudden this one person, that's a lot of if you read Crushing It or Crush It, that's what a lot of the examples that are there is the consistency until that one person sees it or grabs it and shares it, and then it blows up. The other narrative is just persistent growth, consistent growth year over year or month over month. And that's exciting, because I think that gives inspiration for others that are out there that are trying to, not everybody is going to get that one kind of breakthrough, that one opportunity that just somebody random is going to grab it and share it with everybody.
Yeah. I totally agree.
So the biggest thing is just the constant engagement, constant sharing, trying to bring people and drive people to the site so that you're continually building an audience.
And I think engaging with the audience that I have already had. So I looked at, what are the kind of recipes that people really like? And a lot of them I found were crock pot recipes that had minimal ingredients. So I put out more of that. Or I asked people, would you rather see an easy sheet pan dinner or an easy Instant Pot dinner? And I listened to their feedback. I mean, Instagram is awesome now. There's so many ways to engage with your audience there in terms of polls and questions and things like that. So I get a lot of my inspiration, and I built a lot of my content based off of what my current audience wants, in hopes that it's going to also attract similar people.
Are you seeing at a specific rate a higher level of engagement through your social media strategy, or directly on the blog? Like, I guess where is it originating and kind of the crossover? Because I'd imagine it's all over the place.
Yeah. So a lot of my traffic to my site, about 70% of it comes from Google search. Okay. So something else that I'm working on is taking that traffic, because when you Google something, you don't really have any affinity towards the person. You just want an answer to your question or what you're looking for. So once that person gets on my site, I only have a few seconds to be like, hey, here I am. This is what I do. Yeah. You want to follow along? So, I know you had mentioned something about email marketing, or in the email you had sent to me. email marketing has been huge. So I offer a free opt-in when people come to my site, and people can download. It's a free meal planner. It has a week's worth of recipes, a grocery list, and that was something again that I asked my current audience: is this something you'd like? So once people get on my email list, and I kind of follow that jab, 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 right hook, Gary V mentality, and that I offer them so much free stuff that I want to get it to a point where they want to follow me on Instagram, and they want to follow me on Facebook, and they want to follow me on Pinterest, because they don't want to miss out on anything, because they know that I'm constantly delivering value.
So I want to circle back on one quick thing. You just said that you have a weekly email that goes out with a weekly meal plan alongside of a grocery list?
So I don't do that every week. That's an opt-in. If you want to sign up for my email list, you get that for free. But then every week I send out new recipes. Sometimes I do make a meal plan, and I'll say, here's what you should make Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. But the one with the grocery list and all the recipes, that's just a one-time thing. It's a free
gotcha.
opt-in.
Because I just got really excited for a moment. I was like, you're going to actually meal plan for us and send it over. That would be absolutely amazing, because we struggle with that in our own house. All right, what's the meal plan for this week? So having somebody to think for you would be amazing.
But exactly. And that's what I try to do. I try to take the thinking out of things. Like yesterday, I sent out 5 healthy spring baking ideas, knowing that, next weekend is Easter, and a lot of people are probably celebrating that. You don't even have to look on Pinterest. Here you go. Here are 5 healthy, delicious dessert recipes that you might want to bring to a friend's house.
So I again, kind of going back to what you were just talking about, and again, I know it's the Gary V mentality, that it's the playbook that people follow, is the providing value continually.
Yes.
And I feel like a lot of times in small business, we struggle with this, that you're constantly asking, hey, come buy this.
Yeah.
And we fail to bring the value. I was actually having a conversation. We were doing a customer event yesterday, and I was trying to explain that's one of the things that we're trying to focus on, is we want to continue to bring value and information, because the way that I presented it was, the thing that we have always struggled with as an organization is selling something. We've always been really bad at selling a product.
Yeah.
We offer solutions, and so it's really hard to do that unless you're continually adding information so that people can make educated decisions, which is that whole philosophy, right? So what you're saying, I guess, and I'll let you elaborate on it, is the consistent finding ways, in different ways, to add value. If it's providing a meal plan and a grocery list, recipes, whatever, so that people understand, and at a point, I would imagine there's a cookbook or something like that that's coming down the pipe, right?
Yes. So I totally agree with you, and I have a hard time selling things. And so I wish I was a little bit better on it. It's something that was kind of one of my goals this year to work on. But to your point, yes, I deliver and deliver and deliver. I give so much free stuff. And then I say, hey, if you like all this stuff, I also have this. So I have 2 digital products. One is a easy paleo crockpot recipes cookbook. All of the recipes are paleo and Whole30. There's 15 recipes that you can make in your crockpot in under 20 minutes of prep time or less. And that's kind of a lower value product. It's only $10.99. So it's kind of something that is easy and approachable to people. And then I have something that is a little more higher tiered. It's for kind of the person that either needs a little reset or has no clue where to even start with eating healthy. And it's my 4 weeks of clean eating guide. So it's 4 weeks of recipes, grocery lists, and a meal planning schedule on what to eat basically every single day. And it's designed specifically in a way to help reduce food waste, reduce your time at the grocery store, and reduce your time in the kitchen.
So going back to the give, it's what, 80%, 90% giving, 10% asking for people.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I do make some of my income based off of affiliate sales, sure. But I feel like that's a different type of selling. I'm not selling it and being like, you really need to buy this product. Yeah. I'm saying, hey, I really love this and I paid for this and I think you might like it too. And if you do, here's the link.
Yeah.
And if you happen to buy it through my link, cool. If
Great.
not, that's cool too. So that's the other kind of avenue of selling that I do. But primarily, yeah, I spend most of my time giving in hopes that people will see the value in what I have to offer, and they'll purchase my products at some point when they're ready.
And I think that it's exciting. It's inspiring to see somebody succeed in that philosophy, because you read about it in a book, and it's kind of hard to conceptualize, or it's kind of hard to see that it's actually going to work when you can't. It's a hard to tangible thing to grab a hold of. I just feel like I need to be asking people to buy something from me all the time, because that's how I make my money. And that goes against the grain when you're talking constantly about just giving value. And so it's hard for, I think it, again, I feel like this turns into a Gary Vee podcast, but it's so cool to see, to see you implement those tactics and them to be actually successful.
Yeah.
So I guess a big takeaway from today's conversation for me is, and I hope for our audience, is that that if you focus on the value add at a higher rate than the ask, to come buy this, call me for this, when you're just constantly sharing information, hey, this is what this means, then in the long term it will pan out for you. It just requires a high level of patience.
Totally. And I think it's definitely a little bit more hard in a business like yours that's service and solution based, because it's kind of like, how do you offer that value? You don't want to go out and work for free or fix something for someone or install something for free and just hope that they're going to call you when they need something again. But I think that what you're doing right now with this podcast is amazing. You're offering other business people great advice, the opportunity to connect with people. So I think you're doing a great job of it too.
Well, we appreciate the compliment. One of the things you mentioned earlier on SEO stuff, for your website, search engine optimization, we have a page, and just to kind of prove to your point, we have a page on our website that we posted, I think it was about 3 or 4 years ago, a simple instruction list of how to change a combination on a lock. All right. And it is by far the highest ranking view count on our website. It got captured in the Google snippet category. So if you type in how to change a code on a simplex lock, our website comes up in the snippet category.
Awesome.
Yeah, and I don't know how in the world it happened,
right?
but we persistently get hit with that on that page. And what you just said is valuable a few minutes ago. When you get that one little instance of somebody coming to your website for that one thing that you've just given for free, because that's something, I mean, we have historically charged for that information for many, many years. We're giving it away to everybody. And we have that 1 second for them to come on our website and go, hey, hold on a second, what is this company? Because you want to try to grab their attention while they're there, because they're already interested in the information that you're providing.
Yeah.
It's an interesting, I mean, we could talk about this for hours, because that's the way that's what you were just talking about. That's how you built your blog and your digital footprint, is by watching that information and then building additional information that follows that same category.
Right.
That's very cool. Very inspiring, very motivating. So we appreciate you sharing that information with us this morning.
Yeah, of course.
Well, I do want to be mindful of your time, so we'll kind of come to a close now. Real quick, just a 30-second, 60-second pitch of how people can find you on social media and your website, and why they should go there.
Yeah, for sure. So you can find me at thecleaneatingcouple.com and The Clean Eating Couple on pretty much all of our social channels: Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, Twitter. And if you have questions, you can email me, liz@thecleaneatingcouple.com. And really, I think that my site is for anyone, whether you're looking to eat better or you're feeling like you're in a dinner rut. All of my recipes are really easy to make. They taste amazing, and your whole family will love them.
Cool. Well, we appreciate you taking time out of your schedule to join us this morning. For those of you who that may be listening or watching for the first time, which I forgot to mention this at the beginning, today was the first day we've been recording this podcast on Facebook Live since the very beginning, but today we're also simultaneously on YouTube, live on our YouTube channel. So hopefully that worked out well, but you can check that out at loc-doc.net/live. You can find out more information about this podcast and all the other episodes. We're up to, I guess, 36 episodes now. You can check those all out at Loc-Doc.net/podcast, and you can subscribe there as well. So thank you very much for listening and tuning in, and we will be back next Tuesday morning at 9 a.m. for another episode of the Coffee Break Podcast. To learn more about the topics discussed today and to connect with us online to hear all of the episodes available, visit Loc-Doc.net/podcast.
We got so much to say. We got a podcast to make. We're sipping on lattes, and it's time for a coffee break. It's time for a coffee break. Oh, yeah.
The Coffee Break Podcast is brought to you by Loc-Doc Security. We'd love to connect with you online on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and LinkedIn.